Hello. I thought about it and thought I maybe should give you a brief history of the Waltons TV show for all of you who don't remember it. So I'm going to read this for you. The Waltons is an American historical drama television series about a family in rural Virginia during the Great Depression and World War II. It was created by Earl Hamner Jr. based on his 1961 book Spencer's Mountain and the 1963 film of the same name. The main story is set in Walton's Mountain, a fictional mountain area community in fictitious Jefferson County, Virginia. The real place upon which the stories are based is the community of Schuyler in Nelson County, Virginia. The time period is from 1933 to 1946, during the Great Depression and World War II, during the presidential administrations of Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman. A little bit more information for you. The story is about the family of John Walton Jr., known as John Boy, his 6 siblings, his parents John and Olivia Walton, and parental grandparents Zeb and Esther Walton. John Boy is the oldest of the children, 17 years old in the beginning, who becomes a journalist and novelist. Each episode is narrated at the opening and closing by a middle-aged John Jr., voiced by author Earl Hamner, on whom John Boy is based. So, the movie was really good. It lasted a whole 9 seasons on television. Um, like I said, it aired between. There's some 6 feature-length movies too that were made in a series run, set from 1947 to 1969. They aired between 1982 and 1997. I believe the series ended on CBS around 1981, but it did last 9 whole seasons. Uh, it was a TV show with a lot of family values and one of the most popular TV shows on TV at the time. And if you've never seen The Waltons, you can get the DVD set of 9 seasons on, and sometimes you can watch some of the episodes on like Netflix and different channels like that. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it because it is based on Earl Hamner Jr.'s life here in Schuyler, where I'm at now. So I recommend seeing it. Till next time. Interesting story here at the end. We're staying at the John and Olivia's bed and breakfast from the Waltons. Is these graves here. Eliza Brown. I don't know if you remember in the TV show there was a pond. Well, the pond was named after this actual person. So this was an actual lady that lived in there. This is her and her brother's graves. And innkeepers told us that they didn't find this until they'd started building this bed and breakfast and doing construction, that the weeds were all growed up, of course, in this field, and they found these graves. So she was a real person. And I'm going to take you back, and we're actually going to take a walk back a trail to the actual pond. Now, her dad owned like 500 acres around here, so they were pretty wealthy people. But this is the grave of her, and the pond is named after her, and they talk about the pond on the TV show. So I thought I'd show you her grave. It's just right here by the house. Well, folks, we are back to trail, and this is the pond I was talking about. If you remember in the episodes where like Elizabeth and John Boy was sitting here fishing, or Grandpa fishing, this is the real pond that was named after the lady that I showed you the grave. So this is the pond they talk about on the Waltons TV show, and I just wanted to give you a view of it and show you there's a lot of similarities in the TV show. There are actual facts that's true, and this is one of them. This is the actual pond. just like the Baldwin sisters that made the recipe on the TV show, there was a lady. The characters were based off a lady and her daughter that lived in another town close to here, and they actually made peach moonshine. So there's a lot of similarities to the show that is actually reality, but I just wanted to show you this. So follow me as we continue this adventure. Hello folks, once again, this is Uncle Jimmy of Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures. We are in the Walton's Mountain Museum. This is the school building that Earl Hamner Jr. actually went to school and graduated with. And it's set up for the TV show, a museum about the TV show and the family, the Earl Hamner family. So let's go take a look. Follow me. We'll start out here. This is a replica of Ike's general merchandise on the TV show, Ike Yahtzee store. This is kind of what it would have looked like on the TV show, the Waltons. Set up just like the show. So look, there's Ike Yahtzee himself and Cora Beth. The actors that played Ike and Cora Beth Yahtzee. So it's kind of set up like what it would have looked like during the time that Earl Hamner Jr. lived here in the Depression in World War II. And it's also a gift shop. You can actually buy things. But this is where the Hamners would have got all their supplies, sugar, flour, and the actual store has burnt down. I showed you that in the other video, but there's another store, mini mart, sitting in its place. So we'll continue on. Now we'll be going into John Boy's room. It's a replica of his room on the TV show. And we'll look at some of the memorabilia on the wall. There's an old board game. I remember that board game when I was a kid. The Walton's game. I believe this to be Erin's dress, maybe, or Mary Ellen's. I'm not sure. From the TV show. Portrait of Elizabeth and Jim Bob done in charcoal. That's really neat. More pictures of the actors and actresses. Baldwin twins. The whole cast. The main cast. Remember these dolls from the 70s too. They had paper dolls. Replica of the John Boy's room. It's almost just like the one we just stayed in across the street at the end. Continue on. There's a picture of the original Ike's store that burnt down. There's Earl Sr. That was Earl Jr. Hamner's father. Pictures of him and his siblings and mother Doris. That's Earl right down at the bottom, that character John Boy was from. Now this is really neat. It shows the actual people and the people that played them. It's a picture of Nancy Hamner, which Kimmy Collar played Elizabeth, but that's his real sister. Then of course Mary Ellen, which was Judy Norton who played Mary Ellen. Audrey Hamner, which was Aaron's character. Mary McDowell played Aaron. This is the real Jim Bob. Now I got to meet the real Jim Bob back in the 80s when I was here at Walton's Mountain. And I got to sit on the porch of the original house, and he told me stories as we drank lemonade about his family. Now David Harper played him, which was the character Jim Bob. Then there's Cliff Hamner, which was the character for Jason. John Walmsley played him. Cliff was his name. And another brother, Bill and Paul. They combined the two brothers into one character because Hollywood said they couldn't have that many characters on the show. But Doris, his mom, said, well, we could afford that many children. Why couldn't Hollywood? And that's Eric Scott there, who played him. And then, of course, Earl Hamner Jr., which was the character of John Boy, played by Richard Thomas, who was the star that made the TV show The Waltons.
And you know, the real Jim Bob was the musician in the family, not the one that Jason.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
No, James played, the real Jim Bob that you met, James Hammer, he played piano, and he played for our church, because I still go to that church, and he played for some of my kids' weddings and funerals and people's private parties and all. He was a musician in the family.
Wow, so the lady told me that runs the museum here that Jim Bob was the actual musician, and I didn't know that, because when I met Jim Bob, he never told me that. I didn't realize that.
No, but he was. But I guess because Jason was musical in the Waltons, and the other guy, the one that played Jim Bob wasn't, they just switched it, you know.
That's interesting. I know there's a lot of similarities, but then again, there's a lot of truth behind everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And this is the living room we're going into, so it's set up just like the set on the Waltons. As you can see, it looks just about like the inn we stayed at. The inn was really nice. The people there that own that, I recommend if you come down here and stay, that you visit and stay at the inn. It's a neat experience. It's like being on the set of the Waltons. Now this here, this is the original radio, as I understand it, that belonged to the Hamner family, and it's on loan from Ray and Betty Bowen, who own it now. But this is the original radio that belonged to the Hamner family. It's a very neat little museum here, dedicated to the TV show. And we'll continue on here. More pictures of all the actors and actresses that was on this show. Now the actual home here and boyhood home of Earl Hamner is actually in the foothills of Blue Ridge Mountains, and in Schuyler, which is actually Nelson County. Now on the TV show it was Jefferson County, which was a made-up county of Virginia, not the real place. I know so much about this. This was, like I said, one of my all-time favorite TV shows. That's why I know so much information on it. This is set up as the kitchen for the set. So this is the actual way that the kitchen looked. But I'd like to show you something else while we're in here. It's a 65mm camera known as the movie Crab Dolly. This actual camera here was one that was used in a lot of the 182 episodes of the Waltons. This is the actual camera they used to film the episodes. And there's Earl Hamner's director's chair that he sat in while he was there for some of the filmings. But yes, this is the actual camera from Hollywood used for 182 episodes. So this is basically the end of the museum, because there is a video room. We're going to go watch the video of the Waltons and the Earl Hamner TV show, but we're not allowed to film in there for the video for copyright purposes, so I got to respect that. So next we'll be going, I got to go over to Rockfish and visit the railroad and the little post office, and then we're going to go down to the Rockfish Dam, to the Rockfish River, and film there. And so follow me on this adventure. So I'm sorry, I didn't realize there's more to the museum, so I'm filming a little bit more. This is the exhibit room here. Portrait of John Boyd. And here we have a little diorama of the TV set, which is really, really neat. John Boyd's car, the barn, the smokehouse in the back with the truck and the chicken coop. And whoever built this did a really nice job. And as you know, if you know me well enough, I love dioramas, because I do HO scale trains. Now, I don't remember these, but these are from the 70s, and they did actually have a paper dollhouse with little people, characters from the TV show. I don't remember any of my cousins having this, but that's really neat. Now, I do remember these trading cards from the TV show. I had those. I wish I would have kept them. Another replica dollhouse. I don't know, this one must have been sold too at the time. And this is a wedding dress from the 1930s, so that's what original wedding dress of the time would have looked like. Some of this is some of the soapstone quarry pieces from the factory that Earl Hamner Sr. actually worked at. He was a machinist there, so it shows some of the products they made. A lamp, clocks, looks like it may be an ashtray. Just different things that they made. Cutting boards, picture frames. I believe there's a couple more rooms. I know that I want to film the pony cart from the episode Pony Cart. Elizabeth's horse-drawn wagon is actually here from the TV set. Back here, we're going to head to the recipe room, recipe machine of the sisters, Baldwin sisters, on the TV show, which was actually, like I said previously, a mother and daughter. It's based off real characters. And remember, the recipe was an important part of the TV show. Now, the actual mother and daughter from the other town nearby that did have recipe made it, I believe my wife reminded me it was a peach moonshine they made. There's pictures of the Baldwin twins over there, Baldwin sisters. And here's a replica of the recipe machine that the moonshine was made from. Put it in mason jars. That's how they did it back in the old days. So we're getting ready to go watch the video, and then before I leave, I will show you the pony cart. So follow me on this adventure.
No.
So I wanted to show you the pony cart from the TV series.
Earl Hamner will have the final word.
And that's the original pony cart from the TV series.
The summer of 1937 was a summer to remember because it was the summer that Martha Corinne came to visit.
And that's Martha Corinne's outfit from the show.
She was buried on a mountain next to Henry, and the graves were never again overgrown with weeds because, as she said, neglected graves are a shameful thing. Ben never sold the pony cart.
Great opportunity, folks. I'm here at our last stop on the Walton special, but I thought I'd film this train coming by. You too. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video here in Virginia at Rockfish of the train going by. Well, folks, we are at our last stop on this fabulous journey of Earl Hamner Jr. and Walton's Mountain. And this is Rockfish. Now, if you remember, the town of Rockfish was mentioned quite a bit in the TV show, The Waltons. But this is the actual railroad and the post office of Rockfish. If you remember the scene in the episode of The Waltons called The Carnival Comes to Town, or The Carnival, it's where John and Grandpa and John Boy had the carnival people stay at their house in the barn, and they got to see their own little carnival because they couldn't afford to go to carnival because they took their money they saved, the kids did, and bought their grandmother new glasses on the episode, and because the grandmother had broken her glasses, her eyeglasses. But they got to see the carnival anyway because the circus people stayed with them and actually performed. And then Grandpa kind of blackmailed the train and post office conductor here that sold the tickets to let them ride to the next town, which he was being selfish and wasn't going to do. But he blackmailed him into saying, you know, I know the recipe gets shipped out of here at night on the train. And this is why they were able to do that. Now, I don't know if it's true that there was actual carnival or people came and actually stayed with them and did that. But this is what that's based off of, this little tiny post office. Can't really see in very well, but it was very small, as you can see. But it was where they sold train tickets in Rockfish. So this has been Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures, and this concludes our episodes of the Waltons and the Earl Hamner John Boy story. I hope you have enjoyed this great adventure in Virginia, and if you ever get a chance to come to Schuyler and visit, I recommend it. The inn we stayed at, the John and Olivia's Bed and Breakfast, was very nice owners. We enjoyed it immensely. And till next time, go out and have your own adventures and enjoy life. And this is Uncle Jimmy once again. Till next time, goodbye. Hi folks, we're at another site. We're at the Rockfish River. This is a river that Earl Hamner and his family would fish at a lot, and we're at the Rockfish Dam, and it's a real beautiful sight, and I wanted to show it to you because it has a lot to do with the TV show, the Rockfish River. Beautiful view. Really pretty. But I also wanted to show you this for a reason. Now I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that when Earl Hamner Jr. had passed away, that he was cremated, some of his ashes were spread at the family cemetery, which is up in the mountains here, that is private and no one can visit because they want to keep it private. But also some of his ashes were actually spread here at the dam. So we'll take a moment of silence to honor Earl Hamner Jr. So our next stop will be at the railroad depot and the Rockfish post office, and that'll be our last stop on this fabulous journey of Walton's Mountain and the Earl Hamner John Boy story. So follow me as we continue on this adventure to our last stop.